Hey, what's going on, MMA fans? Welcome to my YouTube channel, These Things Happen in MMA. The goal of this channel is to highlight crazy and spectacular moments that have made MMA what it is today. In this episode, I'm going to talk about Roger Huerta and the impact his career had on the sport. This is the story of Roger Huerta and how he became the first MMA fighter to grace the cover of Sports Illustrated. At 20 years old, El Matador would win his first two fights, both in the same night at the Extreme Challenge promotion in Minnesota. Fighting multiple times in one-night tournament-style events will be a theme throughout Huerta's early career, as it was for many fighters coming up in the early 2000s. Huerta would get off to an amazing start in his first 3 years as a professional fighter, amassing a record of 14, 1, 1, and 1. That's 14 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, and 1 no contest. When El Matador arrived at the UFC, he was viewed as a well-rounded and talented prospect, training under former champion Dave Menne. Although an American, Huerta was also viewed by the promotion as someone that could help increase their presence south of the border, coming from Salvadorian and Mexican descent.
And you're originally from the LA area, right?
I was born here, but I never grew up here. That's the thing.
Okay.
I was born here, but I grew up mostly in Texas. Spent some time in El Salvador, Mexico, Texas, and then Minnesota, Minneapolis.
His Octagon debut would be a fight of the night performance against fellow newcomer Jason Dynamite Dent at UFC 63 in 2006. The fight was an exciting and grueling war that saw Huerta pick up a unanimous decision win and gain his first UFC victory. Huerta's second fight in the promotion took place at UFC 67 in Las Vegas against another new face in John the Hurricane Haverson. The bout would garner the rising Huerta even more attention when he would win by TKO just 19 seconds into the fight. The victory would come with controversy though, as it was unclear whether or not Huerta landed a knee to the head or to the shoulder of a grounded Haverson to initiate the fight-ending sequence. In the end, it would go down as a victory for El Matador, who is now 2-0 in the UFC. Huerta's next fight would be his coming out party when he took on yet another debuting fighter in Leonard Garcia at UFC 69 in his new adopted home state of Texas. Now, UFC 69 featured a headlining bout between Canadian superstar George St-Pierre versus the Ultimate Fighter Season 4 winner Matt Serra. The card is largely remembered for the shocking upset of GSP at the hands of Serra, giving the welterweight GOAT his second and last loss in the sport. However, there was another monumental moment stemming from that night that wouldn't be realized until nearly 2 months after the event. Huerta vs. Garcia was an instant classic, earning Huerta his third UFC win and his second fight of the night performance in just 3 UFC outings.
It was a war from the first round to the third round, just furiously exchanging. You hit him, he hit you, but I mean that was intense stuff, dude.
Yeah, man. I got to give it to Leonard. The guy had.
He was tough cooking.
He was a tough cook. He had a strong jaw. Had a lot of heart. Guy gave it everything he had as well, and I give him a lot of props. In order to have fight of the night, you got to have 2 warriors out there,
right.
two guys competing.
Right.
La sangre latina.
Right.
And that blood was boiling up in that ring, and so we threw down.
51 days after the event, on May 28, 2007, the MMA community was surprised to find out one of their own was to be featured on the cover of the biggest sporting magazine around. Even more surprising was the fact that the lesser-known Huerta made the cover instead of the now more widely known Matt Serra. Huerta even expresses this same sentiment 13 years later in an interview that he did with the Man in the Hat, Chuck Mendenhall. I didn't know I was going to be on the cover until Jen Wink, who handled PR for the UFC, called me up and told me, "You're going to be on the cover of Sports Illustrated." I was like, "What? What are you talking about? Me? There's no way." It was a great fight and Leonard brought out the best of me. It's funny, I didn't feel I deserved the cover, but it was a great fight. I have to admit, for years I figured the reason El Matador was chosen for the cover was because he was a young up-and-coming fighter with a penchant for exciting fights. As it turns out though, Paul Fitchenbaum, who was the managing editor of SI.com at the time, revealed the actual reason in the same interview with Mendenhall. "I believe the cover image was chosen because it looked cool, not specifically because it was Huerta. The story conveyed the big picture about the sport, so it wasn't necessary to simply find a photo of the top star." Nevertheless, it was a huge moment for the sport and really made MMA feel legitimate and like it was heading towards the mainstream. The first time I saw the cover, I distinctly remember having a sense of joy and pride that this niche sport that I was into was finally getting the attention I felt it rightfully deserved.
You helped to put this sport whether you like it or not, you help bring it mainstream. That Sports Illustrated, that was a huge deal at the time because the UFC.
It was the first time I think the mainstream media coverage ended up covering it because Chuck Liddell ended up being on the cover of ESPN, and then I was in the cover of SI.
After the issue was released, it would be quite a while before another MMA fighter would grace the cover again. Just 9 days shy of 8 years to be exact, when Ronda Rousey made the cover of the May 19th, 2015 issue. We would only have to wait 9 more months before Conor McGregor would inevitably get his turn on the illustrious magazine cover. As of this date, Roger, Ronda, and Conor are the only MMA fighters to appear on the cover of SI. However, along the way, there would be plenty of other magazines willing to shine the spotlight on mixed martial arts. Roger Huerta would go on to win 3 more fights in the UFC, including another fight of the night performance against fan favorite Clay Guida, before hitting a rough patch and deciding to fight out his contract to pursue acting. Huerta would return to fighting eventually though, signing with various different promotions, and continues his fighting career to this day in Bellator. Looking back, this was a tremendous milestone for the growth of MMA, and it wouldn't have been possible without Roger Huerta, Leonard Garcia, and all the people involved in Sports Illustrated that were willing to give MMA a chance. I posted some related videos down below for those interested in taking a look. Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below with a topic you'd like to hear me cover in a future episode. Thanks for watching and supporting my channel.
Well, life works in mysterious ways, my friends. Things work kind of in full circle. This man, who will be fighting Benson Henderson on April 6th, is the first MMA fighter to ever grace the cover of Sports Illustrated. He is the one and only El Matador himself, Roger Huerta. How about this? Look at that smile. He's back. Unbelievable. Welcome back, Roger. How do you feel about the state of MMA these days?
It's great. It's grown. It's giving guys a lot of opportunities. I mean, we're in the mix of being professional athletes, you know. So it's not just Joe Schmo, you know.
Do you own a single Sports Illustrated with your face on it? Do you have one in your possession? Like, you know, if I asked you for one, do you know where to get it?
Ariel, you asked me this before.
Yeah.
I said to you that my mom probably does, but I
yeah,
don't.
but it's been a while since I asked you that, so I wanted to know if maybe you went and actually got it and keep it with you.
No, I don't.
You want nothing to do with that.
I'm honored. The thing is, I'm grateful for anything good that happens to me, but it's not. I didn't feel like I accomplished anything with that, if that makes sense. You know, it wasn't something that I was striving for or working for. When it happened, I'm like, wow, thank you. You know, I'm grateful. I appreciate it. Thank you. But it wasn't something that I was striving for. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the way I look at it. Like I'm grateful and thankful, but yeah, I don't carry it. I don't carry it around.